And President Trump ends his four-day visit to Japan. North Korea and trade have been on the agenda in meetings with Prime Minister Abe. Let's stay with that story then. President Trump's visit to Japan, which is just coming to a close. To get more on this, we can speak to Nancy Snow, who is a professor of public diplomacy at Kyoto University of Foreign Studies. But at the moment, she's travelling and is at Syracuse in New York. Professor, thank you very much for joining us. In the last few minutes, we've been looking at pictures of Prime Minister Abe and President Trump on board a destroyer at a naval base in Japan. We know they've been talking about buying stealth fighters, Japan buying stealth fighters. What do you make of that, given Japan's peace constitution?
Well, for those of us, I just wanted to say my heart goes out in mourning to the terrible stabbing incident in Kawasaki and how shocking that is for Japan and for those of us who live there. But on to the Japan's peace constitution, Prime Minister Abe has been very clear that he wants to have a new normal regarding the ability of Japan to be more assertive in its military profile. And Japan has pledged to buy 100 F-35 fighter jets, which are $80 million plus per jet. And I think that was the overarching theme here beyond the pomp and circumstance. You saw President Trump actually reviewing Japanese troops when he was outside the Imperial Palace, people waving flags. It's a little unsettling to see this posturing when Japan's nation brand image in the world is very much about peace and nonviolence.
Is your view shared widely in Japan? What's the domestic view on that?
You know, the numbers have actually been going up amongst the Japanese people to revise the constitution, but it is not yet at a majority. Abe wants to move on this in 2020, which is ironic because that is going to be the summer of the Olympics when the eyes of the world are on the country. And it will be puzzling to many international visitors if this narrative of changing Japan's peace constitution is contrasted to this celebration of international athletics and peace diplomacy and sports diplomacy.
Prime Minister Abe really has gone out of his way, hasn't he, to court President Trump. What's the big motivator here? What's in it for him and Japan?
Well, there's a lot in it for him, and that is that you've got two leaders who are very much in favor of this change in Japan's defense posture. This is like the ideal political leader from the United States for Abe to have. Not only do they have the personal chemistry, but you also have them united on going forward and having a more assertive, pro-military posture. And again, many Japanese are not necessarily in favor of that, but they could be swayed. It has to be brought up in the national diet and then put before them in a national referendum. This sort of bromance that has been ongoing for the last 2 years, it has this overarching element of military security. Interesting to mention, though, in the news conference was where they differed somewhat on North Korea. Trump really downplayed the so-called small missile test that North Korea made and said he trusted Kim, and he said we're going to take some time, but we will have a deal with North Korea, and he made it sound like he's going to have a Trump Tower in North Korea sometime soon. And then Abe, though, expressed more of regret about these missile tests. So they're not in unison on that, but they're very much in unison with Abe's need to restructure Article 9 of the peace constitution and Trump's need to come over there as almost a sales agent for Lockheed Martin and other military contractors to get Japan on board. We saw this play out in all of the framing of the visit, very, very highly militaristic, ending with Trump's Memorial Day speech aboard the USS Wasp.
Professor Snow, I'm afraid we're up against the clock, but thank you very much for your insight. We do appreciate it. Professor Nancy Snow joining us there from upstate New York.